Delighted to have ACC legend Lexie Hull. Is that what we have to do now? Oh my God, we'll
I
talk
don't like
about
the
it.
sound
I
of that.
know, me either. That and much, much more. Locked On Women's Basketball starts now.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hi there and welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm your host, Howard Megdal. I want to thank you for making us your first listen every day. You guys, 250,000 of you showed up in November alone. The way we show up for you 6 days a week. We have always cared. We will always care about the world of women's basketball in all the ways it manifests, past, present, and future. Of course, it is not just me. It is the incredible team across the country and across the world at thenexthoops.com. We have over 100 reported pieces every single month about the past, present, future of women's basketball. Subscribe. It's $9 a month, $72 a year. It gets you over 100 reported pieces right to your inbox. It just keeps showing up. We cover it all. We are here for it. And we are very much here for Lexie Hull, who I have had the privilege of covering throughout her collegiate career, throughout her pro career. There is so much to talk about. Yes, ACC legend. I know I can't get my mind around it, but Lexie, you belong to many worlds now, whether it is the Indiana Fever, whether it is Unrivaled. We're going to get into a bit of all of it. Do you feel as if you have the type of choices and options that were not even necessarily fathomable to you as a player when you were back at Stanford just a few short years ago?
Yeah, I mean, the game has changed so much. The options as a professional has changed so much. I mean, when I was in college, I didn't even know if I wanted to play professional basketball because I didn't know if it was a real career path for me. So now looking back, I'm just so grateful for the growth of the sport and the opportunities that I've been given thus far.
We're lucky to have you on the program once again. We're always glad to check in with you. Segment one, we're going to be talking about what I like to call the breakthrough, because it was a big deal what happened in 2024. We'll get a little nerdy. We'll talk about some of the stats behind it. I want to hear what the experience was like for you. I want to talk in segment two about the 2024 season writ large, because you experienced the type of season up close that has never really happened before in terms of what it's meant for popular culture and the way in which the game that we have all loved for a long time has resonated in a larger way that I think is going to have ramifications for decades to come. And then segment three, like I said, I don't know how we get to everything, but we'll try. Unrivaled, the years ahead, and exactly what is next for you. It's really exciting 2025 and what it's about to bring. But let's start here. I want to hit the audience at home with numbers to understand. Your ability to shoot was something that we've talked about on previous programs. It's something that you never questioned. It was something that Lin Dunn was certain of when she drafted you. It was something that, if I will be frank, people around the league were hoping for. This idea that, this is something you'd always done well in college. It was difficult to find a rhythm. It was difficult to find playing time, which makes a difference as far as a rhythm goes. No one has that question anymore after the year that you just put up, shooting 47.1% from three. I just wonder, before we get into how it happened, how satisfying is that for you?
I mean, it's incredibly satisfying. Looking back on a season, the things that you take are those percentages. Those are the things that, you're working to improve year after year. And so just, really, really proud of myself for sticking with it and believing in myself and continuing to work. And then being able to finish the season with a percentage that I'm proud of.
When did you know that it was finally going to click for you? I mean, you hit 4 threes early on in the year, on May 25th against Las Vegas. There were signs early on that you were finding it. This before you even were starting. Was there a moment where it felt like this was finally happening? And again, was there any sort of off-season change? Was there anything that you were doing differently that helped this happen? Or does the ball just start going through the hoop for you?
I think kind of how you mentioned earlier, just finding the rhythm, finding the confidence in game. Shooting 25 shots in a row in practice is different than getting your 4 looks in a game and not being able to knock them down and having the confidence to continue shooting them. So I think just getting the opportunity in that second half of the season and seeing them go in and then continuing to get those open looks really just fed that confidence. And I think that hot streak towards the end.
I mean, the numbers support it. We obviously know it is a truism, but even last year, where the numbers were not where you wanted them to be, you were when you played 10 to 19 minutes, you shot 11% from three. When you played 20 to 29, it was 22%. You played north of 30 minutes, you were 33%. You were finding it as you went, and then obviously you've elevated all of those levels in the process. Was there a moment that, when you're talking to Christy Sides early on, where you're being told, I am going to get more of this playing time, more of this opportunity? And does that help feed your confidence as well?
I mean, honestly, I can't really pinpoint a moment. It was, I think, just I was given a chance in a game and I hit a couple early ones, and then you get a couple more minutes, and you hit another one and you get a couple more minutes. So it wasn't ever like I was told you're going to be playing today, make sure you take advantage of it. It was just,
Right.
when you're sitting on that bench and you don't know when your number is going to be called, and when it finally is called, just trying to take advantage of it. And I was just happy that the ball went in those
I
times.
have 2 favorite numbers from this past year. One is when you played more than 30 minutes per game this season. Do you know what you shot from three? You shot 66.7% from three. When you went out there, there's no such thing as tired legs in that scenario. You are sinking 2 and 3. No one does that. No one. I mean, it's just incredible. And then again, you got the opportunity to start. Ended up starting 11 games. You shot 60% from three during those 11 starts during the regular season. I guess the question I have is, like, do you feel as if this is now the standard? Are you going to kind of hold yourself to the standard you have set in 2024?
Yeah, definitely. I think, that's on every team. You hear everyone in the W say you end up finding your role and you find out what your niche is. And I think for me, we have some incredible playmakers on our team and incredible people that can get you the ball when you're open and create advantages. And so me being one of those people that I'm spacing the floor and I need to knock down those shots. So not only, holding myself accountable to do that as my role and hit those open looks, but also being able to stand up for my teammates and say, thank you. Like you're doing the work, you're doing the hard work, and I'll be here and I'll knock it down when I need to. So, I mean, it takes everyone. And I think being able to just be there and be that like solid, I know it's going to go in hopefully majority of the time, like that's part of my role. So I'm definitely going to hold myself to that standard.
Bigger picture, feeling like you belong. I just wonder, were there questions in your own mind? How do you weather that? You come into the league, we've watched you play. We know what kind of talent you bring, but at the end of the day, you have to, put it in the box score too, right? And I just wonder whether that was a challenge for you, whether that was something, A, that you battled, and B, whether it felt gratifying on that level as well when you have the breakthrough you had this year.
Yeah, I think, definitely early on in my career when our team, my first year, winning 5 games in a season, and then you're not performing great. It's like, where do I belong? This league is tough. Like, what am I doing wrong? And so there's doubts for sure. But I think surround myself with a great support system. Our coaches and staff throughout the years have been super supportive and figuring out, what you bring. And sometimes, yes, it doesn't show up in the box score. So this year being able to have something that was statistically like evident, I could say I provided this along with those intangible things that, on the defensive side that I feel like I bring. It's nice to feel like you found that spot and you found what you can contribute day in and day out.
It was, again, a point of personal privilege for people who know how hard you've worked to get to this point. It was delightful to see it happen. So congratulations on that. We're going to be back in segment 2 talking about, it was quite a ride in 2024 in ways that perhaps none of us could have even conceived of ahead of time. And I want to talk to you all about it as someone who had a front row seat for it. Back with Lexie Hull, I'm Howard Megdal. You're listening to Locked On Women's Basketball. Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by Skylight Frames. Do you struggle to find the perfect gift during the holidays? Maybe gift giving isn't for you. You overthink it and wind up with something disappointing or nothing at all. Worst of all, it feels unsentimental. You waste your money. Skylight Frames is here to help solve this problem for you. Skylight Frame is the touchscreen digital photo frame your whole family will love. Upload thousands of photos with your phone and watch them appear in seconds. Again, you can share with others, invite friends and family to also share using the free Skylight mobile app. Add new photos straight from your phone from anywhere. So you take those pictures on your phone within seconds, it's going to show up on a frame across the country. Just an amazing opportunity to connect with people who maybe you don't get the chance to see in person as much as you'd like. Satisfaction is also guaranteed. They're confident that you'll love Skylight so much, offer free 120-day return. So now is a special limited time offer for our listeners. Get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight frame when you go to skylightframe.com/NBA. That's skylightframe.com/NBA. Get $20 off your purchase now at skylightframe.com/NBA. I'm Howard Megdal. You're listening to Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm delighted to be talking to Lexie Hull. And Lexie, you're probably sick of getting this question, but I am going to ask you, you had a teammate who made the jump from the Big Ten to the Indiana Fever. What was it like seeing all the attention around Grace Berger this year?
It was awesome. It was awesome.
No, listen,
I will say, I mean, having two people playing from the Big Ten recently, great for our team. And I have gone to events with Grace, and the Indiana fans show out for her day in and day out. So still an amazing excitement around her.
Let's be clear on multiple fronts. Grace, who has been on the program dating back to her freshman year at Indiana, Grace can never get enough attention. And she is an absolute rock star. I have seen that up close in Indiana as well. But also, of course, the year that the Fever and Caitlin Clark had in terms of attention is unlike anything we've ever seen, in ways that were challenging, in ways that, if I may be frank, everyone came through with such flying colors to be able to navigate it. And just for you, it's not like you played at some backwoods program, like you were used to a lot of attention already, but was there a surreal moment in 2024 where like, oh my God, what is happening here for you?
I think like just the anticipation of what the year was going to be like was the most exciting piece. I remember the draft party in Cambridge, which was the first time we had that many people in Cambridge for not really any performance, the stands were filled, people had their jerseys, people had their gear on. And it was like, it was just a hint of what the season was going to be like. If all of these people were to come this early with something they could watch on their TVs or their phones at home, and they wanted to be in Cambridge to be part of this booming environment, that just showed what the year was going to be like. So I knew from that moment on, we were in for a wild ride, and that there was going to be thousands of people in Indiana that were going to show out for the Fever this year. So it started then.
It's the Oncourt success, it's easy to look at it in hindsight, but to start the way you guys started, and I say that in multiple ways. You start 2-9, but the bigger thing for me is not about the record. The bigger thing for me is you're playing 11 games in 20 days. You were going on the road against some of the best teams. I remember having a conversation with someone on your staff, basically saying, now you have 29 games left, and you should have comparatively the easiest schedule because you just went through something that we ran the numbers at the Next. No one had gone through what you went through since the 2003 WNBA season. Was it hard in those early days to kind of keep your equilibrium between the attention and the amount of difficulty in the schedule itself?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, with any team that gets a number one pick, there's all of these pressures and expectations that you're going to have so much growth from the previous year and things are different and you're going to just start winning games automatically. And obviously, even if we didn't have a brutal schedule at the start, the expectations are still there and it might not go how you want it to go. And that's just part of those growing pains. And then you add in trying to build chemistry and then you're adding in a very difficult schedule. It's all of these pressures and expectations that, again, it's like, are we good enough? Are we going to be good enough? But I think we as a group were really resilient and stuck together and believed that this process was going to play out and that we were going to get better. We're going to be a team that can compete against every team in the league. And we did that by the end of the season. So I think I'm proud looking back that we didn't just give in and say, it's not this year. Like we'll start over next year. No, we dug deep, we practiced hard. And eventually when we had time to practice in the start, we didn't really have time to practice as a team. We got closer, we got better. And I think you saw that how we played on the court. It just continued to get better and better throughout the year.
To be Caitlin's teammate and understand that you're bringing a certain level of knowledge, it's a little bit surreal for me to think of you as a veteran, but you've having gone through this several years. Did you feel a special responsibility to be able to talk to her about what your WNBA experience had been? And do you feel like that kind of helped bring you guys closer as teammates, as friends as well over the course of this year?
Yeah, I think, sharing experiences is great. And I think you learn a lot through what other people have gone through. My first 2 years in the W were not easy and our season was not always fun. And I think that you learn a lot from that. And so being able to kind of talk about those experiences and share like how we can be better and like just stick it out. Like it's okay. Like, yes, losing games sucks. No one wants to lose games, but we'll be fine. Like we can learn things from this. So I think going through tough patches really helped me be a better player, me be a better person, but then also to be able to help, share the things that I've learned from that.
And that personally, and I'm wondering if there's something that, because this was your third year that, you go from 5 wins to 13 wins, ultimately to 20 this year, but were there things you learned in your 5-31 campaign that you brought in that helped you weather this season better and help this team avoid, like you said, sinking into the losing the way we've seen a lot of other teams do that get off to rough starts?
Yeah, my first year was tough and I look back and it's sad because we got to a point towards the end that we were just looking forward for it to be over. Like, and that's not how you want to end a season. That's not a feeling that you want to have. And I think there's a point in the season where you're out of like the playoff race, right? So then after that, it's hard to like keep motivated and keep trying. But as long as we could keep pushing off that and just stay in the mix. And then eventually by staying in the mix, all of a sudden we're in the playoffs. So then it's like we've made it. So just making sure that we never got to that point where we're out of it. And I think that's where we kind of got to in my first season and just pushing that off as long as possible and turning the page quicker. I think that's something definitely that I learned that first year.
It seemed like the night that the season did end against Connecticut, it was not as much, a disappointment, obviously, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seemed like both appreciation of what you were able to accomplish and a feeling of like, well, we can build on this. Can you kind of take me through how you were thinking about that night and if you've thought about it since?
Yeah, going into the playoffs, we felt like we had a chance. We were going to win that series. Yeah. And I think any competitor, any team should have that feeling, but I know, playing in Connecticut is tough. They're a very veteran, very good team. But at the end of that series, looking back, it's like, we are better than that. Like we can make a better run. We just need experience and we need to grow better and we need to play better in those high pressure situations and down the stretch, we need to focus in more. And I think that comes with being in those scenarios more and being in a playoff game environment more. And so I think we finished those games, and I'm just excited for the opportunity to be in that environment again and having one under our belt, how much more we can do, how much better we can play, and hopefully, play for championships down the line. So just excited of, what we can learn and grow. And now that we have that experience under our belt, what's the future and what's in store in the future?
No question. The challenge of playing against a Stephanie White team is a real challenge. I don't know what happened to her. I know she's not with the Sun anymore. Have you heard? Does she have a different gig now?
She might be back home in Indiana. So yeah, she's, tough team to play against. So
That's
excited
true.
for the year.
In Grace Berger territory. That's right.
Yeah.
All right, good. We're going to talk about Stephanie White, the future to come, and we got to talk Unrivaled because that is fascinating in and of itself. Lexie Hull is here, everyone. I'm Howard Megdal. You're listening to Locked On Women's Basketball. Back right after this. Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by Built Rewards. Now, if you're a renter, listen up. This is an absolute game changer. Usually your rent, you think it goes to pay to your landlord and that's done. Well, now you get something back too. Thanks to Built, you can now earn points on rent payments just like you do with groceries or travel. Completely free to join. You redeem points towards flights, hotel stays, even future rent payments. So again, you're already paying rent. You might as well get something back for it. And you can use it to travel over 500 airlines, over 700,000 hotels in their program. The possibilities are almost endless. So again, renting, not so great. Renting with Built changes the game for you. Go to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. Again, that's joinbuilt, joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. Make sure to use our link so they know we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards today. Locked On Women's Basketball also brought to you by FanDuel. And the NFL playoffs are almost here. Well, not for my New York Giants, but the NFL playoffs are almost here for competent football teams. And it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with the surest bet I know, betting against the New York Giants with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. If you watched the Giants against the Falcons yesterday, you know all too well there's some winning bets to be made over the rest of the regular season. Again, FanDuel has so many different ways for you to pick up a W. Betting against the New York Giants, just one of them, of course. So there are also individual bets you can make, which players will score a touchdown, how many points each team will score. I don't think they yet have, will the fourth string quarterback play for the New York Giants, but they have pretty much everything else. So visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Howard Megdal here, back with Locked On Women's Basketball. And Lexie Hull is here. We're going to talk about Unrivaled in just a moment. But first, Stephanie White coming to town, and somebody who I had the privilege of covering in her last go-round, which not coincidentally involved the Indiana Fever in the WNBA Finals, right? So this is a winner. This is somebody who clearly knows how to take a team where it needs to go. Take me inside sort of what those initial conversations with her have been like.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think, immediate reaction to her is she's a winner and she will pull what's best out of everybody, and just very excited about the opportunity to learn from her. And obviously she's went to Purdue, played with the Fever, coached with the Fever. So she's a legend in Indianapolis. So excited to have her back and excited to just be able to completely dive in with her. And I think everyone's going to be really bought in, and just excited to see, how she tweaks things and her vision of how we can be better, and individually how we can be better to collectively be the best we could be. So just really excited. And I know that she's excited to be there and excited to change what we can do.
Have you been given any sort of specific charge from her of, I'm going to look for this from you. I'm going to look for a different role more. I'm just wondering, how you've sort of framed that in your mind for what you want to bring when you come to training camp.
Yeah, I mean, she's mentioned specific ways I can be more dynamic. So, finishing at all three levels, being able to use my size and post up and have a more of a mid-range game to just make me harder to guard. And I think, when you make all five players on the court hard to guard, it's going to make us really good. But also she's, going to be focused on that defensive side. So bringing as much as I can on that end as well. So I think she just is expecting a lot from everybody. And as every coach should, I'm excited about that.
When it comes to what this team can do in the immediate future, I said on the podcast last year, I thought you guys had a ceiling of reaching the WNBA finals. And frankly, with a different start, you have a different seed and a different path, and it would have been interesting to see. But I won't be the only one saying that coming up this year. And in your mind, do you feel as if a championship is not just a realistic goal, but what you guys are aiming for here?
Yeah. I mean, we beat basically every team in the WNBA this year. So anything's possible. And it's a matter of stringing together 4 good quarters when it matters. So yeah, I think our ceilings is a championship, and hopefully we can reach that.
It would also be something, and having seen in person, we joked about it, but like Grace is a rock star, right? Stephanie White is like this legend in this area. It certainly is not a barrier to entry. The fans have taken to you in a fundamental way. Caitlin obviously beat Indiana on a regular basis, but they've forgiven her, it appears at this point, now that she's in the pros. But do you think it will resonate in a deeper way that there are also people with Indiana roots who are part of this team?
Yeah, I mean, the state of Indiana is so rooted in basketball. And I think the fans, it's easy to buy in to someone that you've already been bought in with in the past. And I think, then you just build that community of deep roots. And then I guarantee you'll feel that and hear that in Gamebridge next year during our home games. And that's what I'm just so excited about. My family's already looking to come, and tickets are selling out. So it's like, I only have 2 tickets. So I don't know, you're going to have to fight over them. But I know the people that will be in those seats are going to just be very excited for us. And I'm excited for all of us to be there and get to play together and hopefully bring home some hardware.
I mean, it is everywhere you go too. I mean, just, was there a road environment that you were particularly taken by that was like the coolest experience of 2024 for you?
I mean, there were several. There were so many times where it felt like if a call was made against the other team, people were cheering, which typically in a away environment, you're not getting positive feedback from the crowd. But this year that happened several places. So very fortunate about that.
Yeah, it was fascinating. And again, what we're also seeing is home crowds continuing to grow independent of the Indiana Fever too. We're seeing, it's without question, this rising tide, and it's lifting all boats. And what you guys did and the way you did it with unbelievable pressure, I have so much respect for it. So unfortunately, and you must be really sad about this, instead of being able to spend the winter in the Midwest, you have to go to Miami for the winter and spend it by the beach. How are you going to deal with that disappointment?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough pill to swallow when I'm sitting by the beach in the sand getting a tan. No, I'm so excited, and it's going to be a great opportunity, and I'm not mad about the sun either. So
no, I don't blame you at all. I mean, listen, we're big fans of New Jersey here on the show, but I think Miami has it in January, no doubt. I do, and to sort of bring it full circle, to talk about the way we talked about it at the top of the program. Being in Unrivaled is not just an opportunity to play basketball in the offseason and stay here instead of going overseas, but this is in so many ways the cream of the crop when it comes to WNBA players. And I wonder, how much validation you felt to be invited, to be part of Unrivaled, to get this opportunity. You've proven yourself now, and now you get a chance to play in front of what I think is going to be an enormous national television audience. So that deal with Turner Sports alone is a very big deal for what it portends. But to be able to play among these players, the best of the best.
Yeah, I think, making the decision for me also, I was still contemplating going back to Athletes Unlimited. And
Right.
I think you're doing great things there. And I love my past 2 years there, but the opportunity to play against Olympic gold medalists and all-stars and play against them day in, day out. Very fortunate for the opportunity and just excited about the chance to compete with them and get better and get ready for the season to come. I think it'll only help me basketball-wise.
I mean, that there is AU and Unrivaled is a big deal. That there are choices is a really big deal. And that's where I'd love to close is just, I know you take seriously extending the ladder down. It's something that you've talked about. It's something that you've done. When you advise younger players who are coming up through the system now, number one, do you feel better about advising them to stick with it, knowing that there's a system that is growing here that's allowing people, like you said, to not have to question whether there's a pro future? And again, I just as an aside, I'm an old, so I've done this a long time. People at your level of professionalism should not have had to wonder that, but so many players did. Is that conversation different for you now when you talk to younger players?
Yeah, I mean, just my childhood versus girls' childhood now and the accessibility to get to watch games. I didn't watch the WNBA growing up. So for me, I don't think it was ever like a vision I had. I didn't have a role model to chase. And now being that role model for young girls and getting to inspire them and say, it's possible for you, it's so exciting. And then to that, there's also, I can't imagine what the WNBA is going to look like in 5 years, let alone it's growing teams after teams. We're expanding the size. More and more players get to play. There's more opportunity for people. So I'm just so excited for the growth and so excited for what these kids in middle school and even high school, what the opportunities will be like once they graduate college. And yeah, so it's just great that they get to see us so that they can be us 5 to 10 years from now.
And a new CBA coming with potentially long overdue changes for salary and the rest of it. So much to get to in 2025. Lexie Hull, it is always a pleasure. I'm excited to see you at the center of all of it. I'm wishing you happy holiday season and continued success. And to our listeners at home, thank you for making us your first listen every day. We'll be back with you tomorrow, as we are 6 days a week. Until then, I'm Howard Megdal, wishing all of you a wonderful day.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.